I guess that means I'm up. I'm putting my timer on so that I don't just keep waxing on. That was so beautiful, Reverend Dr. Samora. It's so wonderful to be with you all. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Dr. Spates and Reverend Dr. Stacy and Reverend Maven Eve and everyone. It's just so, so wonderful to be here. So, a few thoughts about dreams and teams. One of my go-to, it's like this is kind of my secret for interpreting dreams. So most people know me as Dr. Dream. I've been a hypnotherapist for the last 20 plus years and working with people in their dreams and their subconscious mind for that long, thousands of dreams, thousands of people. And one of my quick ways to interpret a dream is to follow what the late great father of psychotherapy said to do. That's Carl Jung. He said to look at everyone and everything in our dreams from the perspective that it's all happening within us. So if I dream about a wolf, if I dream about my husband, if I dream about my mother, if I dream about my grade school teacher, it's the wolf part of me, it's the husband part of me, the mother part of me, the teacher part of me. And by practicing seeing everything, not just every one, but everything in the dream as an aspect of self, not only does that give me an edge on understanding what dreams are trying to communicate in their brilliant language that is far superior to our ordinary conscious logic. It is extraordinary and it's coded, which is just a very elegant way of being able to communicate. But when I'm able to do that, and I suggest that everybody pay attention to dreams because it makes us more compassionate, because we realize if we practice looking at our nighttime dreams from the perspective that everyone's in us, then we can't help but practice that in our waking dream as well, because P.S., we're dreaming all the time and we're dreaming right now. This happens to be a beautiful dream that we're having. We're all in it right now. So if you look across the Zoom and you're looking across, like these are all mirrors. And that's not a figure of speech. It's actual. It's as if we are all cells in the celestial body of God, of which we are a part intrinsically. So from that point of view, why would we ever harm anyone or anything when it's a direct relationship to ourselves? So this is an interesting day to be talking, to have this church service. It's the 21st anniversary of September 11th, which was a nightmare. And one of the things I like to say is a crisis and a nightmare. They're terrible things to waste in terms of we don't want to just forget about it. This is why we remember these things, so that we can learn from them, so we can unpack them. And a lot of times our nightmares, just thinking on the level of going to sleep and falling asleep and having a nightmare, they, I believe, are the unsung heroes of our subconscious mind, because they are trying to wake us up. They're trying to jolt us awake from our stupor of separateness. They're trying to wake us up and put us back into balance, back into unity, back into the awareness of who we are and what we're capable of. So often some people have told me that they try not to remember their dreams because they often will have nightmares. And that's kind of like having your indicator light in your car that says you need oil, and you just don't want to see that. So you put some duct tape over it to cover it up so that you don't have to see it, hoping it'll go away. But it doesn't. Things just get worse. So if we were wise, we would pay attention to our nighttime dreams. And if they were a nightmare, we would interpret it through the lens of, how might this be a gift for me? How might this be trying to teach me something? Every dream is trying to give us something. And if we were wise, we would have a no gift left behind policy. So that's one aspect of dreaming that I think is important. It's all happening to us for our greatest good. Now, how does the team part work? Because this is a relatively new part of my work, but it's kind of ancient as well. In a difficult dream, in somatic therapy, the somatic dream work, the thought is if you can practice being lucid, or even after the fact looking at the dream, no matter what is going on. And I've had some doozies. I've had nightmares that would make Freddy Krueger cower. But if you look around any nightmare, there's this notion of resources. There's this notion of allies. Just as jewel weed grows right next to poison oak, there is a solution. There are resources, there are people, places, circumstances that are right next to the difficulty that we are facing that we can lean on. So, for example, I was sharing this with Stacy, Reverend Stacy, the other day. Oh goodness, okay, I only have a couple minutes. But on September 11th, the September 11th, that morning before I woke up, I had a dream my apartment building that I was living in Hollywood at the time was on fire. And I ran outside the building and I was terrified. My building's on fire. Everything's on fire. And I noticed Marianne Williamson, who I'm sure most of you know, she was in my dream. She's talented like that. She makes appearances. A lot of spiritual teachers do. I'm sure Dr. J has showed up many times, and Reverend Stacy and Samora and Reverend Maven Eve. But she was in my dream, and she was in my dream. She was a part of the building. She lived in my building. And I was watching her and noticing how calm she was. And so everyone was panicked. The sky's falling, everything's falling. And she was calm and still. And I moved over and I stood next to her in my dream. And I was breathing in sync with her. And I was trying to be like her in my dream, to not freak out in the midst of this tragedy. So this is just an example of a dream character, a figure that shows up in a nightmare to teach us something or to give us something to hold on to. Somebody was sharing a dream with me the other day about being out to sea and being on the waves, and they're terrified. And I said, if you look around this dream, was there anything there to support you? Was there any person or anything? She said, no, I was by myself, but there was the boat. Oh, I was on a boat. The boat was supporting me. And then she started to weep and she pointed across the table at her girlfriend. And she said, she's my boat. She's my boat. Even on a stormy sea, even when I'm by myself, I'm supported. I have this person who loves me. So my last thought here is that we are always supported, no matter what we're going through, no matter what difficulty, whether in our waking dream or in our sleeping dream. And if we start to look around at the people that show up, whether they be people that we know, whether they be angels, whether they be animals, whether they be a soft blanket, we are surrounded by more resources, by more help, by more helping spirits than we could ever count. And if we focused on that, it would be like being in a rose garden and focusing on the rose and not just on the rose of the roses and not just on the thorns. We would be overwhelmed at the beauty instead of focused on the thorns. So no matter what is happening, it doesn't mean to pour pink paint over our difficulties. It doesn't mean to pretend it's not there. It's to recognize it. Absolutely. It's trying to give me a message, but then to start looking around at the resources, the people, this group of people right here, for example, and lean on them and allow them to make you stronger, allow them to make you better, allow them to make you wiser, allow them to remind you, I got this. Even if it kills me, I'm going to be fine because I'm eternal. So this is the good news. This is the good dream. Every dream is a good dream, especially the one we're having right now. Always the one we're having right now. Thank you. Peace and blessings.